Sunday morning light cut through the kitchen window, painting everything in deceptive gold. Holden Maris sat at the small wooden table, watching his wife move around their kitchen with unusual energy. Lainey hummed something under her breath, a tune he didn't recognize. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" she said, opening the refrigerator. Her voice carried that forced brightness he'd been hearing more often lately. "Sure is." Holden kept his tone neutral. 3 tours in Afghanistan had taught him to read the room, and something was off. Lainey rarely got up before 9 on Sundays, yet here she was at 7:30, fully dressed and bustling around like she had somewhere important to be. She pulled out the orange juice carton, the expensive kind she usually saved for special occasions. "I thought we could have a proper breakfast today. Like we used to." When was the last time they'd had a proper breakfast? Holden couldn't remember. These days, their conversations consisted of logistics: who would pick up groceries, when a mortgage was due, whether the gutters needed cleaning. Safe topics that kept them from addressing the growing distance between them. "Sounds good," he said. Lainey poured orange juice into 2 glasses, her movements deliberate and careful. She set one in front of him, then raised her own glass with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Here's to success, sweetheart." The toast caught him off guard. Success? What success? Holden had been teaching trauma recovery to veterans at the VA clinic for 3 years now. Nothing had changed recently. No promotions, no raises, no recognition ceremonies. Just the same group of broken soldiers trying to piece themselves back together. "Success?" he asked. "Oh, She waved her free hand vaguely. "Just us. Everything we've built together." Holden studied her face. Lainey had always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads at the grocery store without trying. But right now, her smile looked painted on. Her eyes kept darting away from his, focusing on the juice glass, the window, anywhere but his face. "To us," he said, raising his glass. She clinked hers against his with more force than necessary. "Drink up. I made eggs Benedict too. Your favorite." Another red flag. Lainey hadn't made eggs Benedict in over a year. She claimed the hollandaise sauce was too much work, too messy. But here she was, acting like the devoted wife from their early marriage. Holden brought the glass to his lips, then paused. The orange juice smelled off. Not spoiled, exactly, but there was an underlying chemical tang that made his nose wrinkle. He watched Lainey take a sip of her own juice, her face screwing up slightly as she swallowed. "Tastes a little funny," she said. "Maybe the oranges were old." "Maybe." Holden set his glass down. "I'll grab some napkins." He stood and walked to the counter, blocking her view with his body. In one smooth motion, he switched their glasses. The movement was so quick and natural that even he wasn't sure if she'd noticed. "There we go." He returned to his seat and picked up what had been her glass. "Cheers." Lainey had gone pale. "Actually, I'm not that thirsty. Maybe we should just eat. Come on." Holden raised his glass again, his voice gentle but firm. "You made the toast. Let's finish it properly." She had no choice. To refuse now would be too obvious. Lainey lifted her glass, his original glass, and took a long drink. Holden watched her throat work as she swallowed, then matched her with his own sip. The orange juice tasted normal. Whatever she'd put in his glass, it hadn't been in hers. "There," she said, setting down the empty glass. "Now let's eat before everything gets cold." But Holden wasn't thinking about food anymore. He was thinking about the way she'd hesitated, the way she'd tried to distract him, the way she'd suddenly lost her appetite for the toast she'd initiated. He was thinking about the chemical smell and the way her hand had shaken when she'd poured the juice. Most of all, he was thinking about trust and how his wife had just tried to poison him. 20 minutes later, Lainey stumbled toward the bathroom, one hand pressed to her mouth. The sound of retching echoed through the house, violent and continuous. Holden found her on the bathroom floor, arms wrapped around the toilet bowl, face white as paper. "Jesus, Lainey." He knelt beside her, placing a hand on her back. "What's wrong?" "I don't know." Her voice was weak, strained. "I feel awful. My head's spinning, and I can't stop throwing up." Holden helped her to her feet, supporting her weight as she swayed. "Come on. We're going to urgent care." "No, I'll be fine. It's probably just food poisoning or something." "Like hell." His grip on her arm tightened. You're not keeping anything down, and you look like you're about to pass out. We're going. Now. The drive to Greystone Medical Center took 12 minutes. Lainey spent most of it with her head in a plastic bag, dry heaving. Holden kept his eyes on the road and his thoughts to himself. If she'd put something in his orange juice, whatever it was, she just consumed it herself. The urgent care waiting room smelled like disinfectant and desperation. A few other patients sat scattered across the plastic chairs, a kid with a swollen eye, an elderly man clutching his chest, a woman with a bandaged hand. Holden helped Lainey to a chair in the corner, away from the others. Holden Maris, he told the receptionist. My wife needs to be seen immediately. She's been vomiting nonstop and appears to be having some kind of reaction. The receptionist, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, barely looked up from her computer. What kind of reaction? I don't know. That's why we're here. It took 40 minutes before they called Lainey's name. The nurse, a compact woman with kind eyes, led them to a small examination room. Lainey could barely walk straight. Tell me what happened, the nurse said, helping Lainey onto the examination table. I don't know. Lainey's voice was barely above a whisper. I was making breakfast, and then I just started feeling sick. Dizzy, nauseous. I can't keep anything down. Any medications this morning? Alcohol? Anything unusual? No, nothing. Just orange juice and... Lainey's eyes flicked to Holden. Nothing. The nurse took her vitals, frowning at the results. Your blood pressure's elevated, and your pulse is irregular. When did the symptoms start? About an hour ago, Holden said. Right after breakfast. I want to run some tests. The nurse made notes on her chart. We'll need blood work and a urine sample. Something's definitely not right. Holden stepped forward. I want a full toxicology screen. Both women stared at him. The nurse recovered first. That's unusual. Is there something specific you're concerned about? My wife doesn't get sick like this. Ever. She's healthy as a horse. Holden's voice carried the authority of someone used to making life or death decisions. Something made her sick, and I want to know what. Holden, that's not necessary. Lainey started. It's necessary. He cut her off, then turned back to the nurse. I'm a veteran. I've seen what poison does to people. I want the full panel. The nurse nodded slowly. I'll talk to the doctor. We can definitely run a tox screen if you're concerned about exposure to something harmful. Good. 2 hours later, they had their answer. The doctor, a young man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, delivered the news with clinical detachment. Your wife has traces of zolpidem in her system, he said, consulting his tablet. That's the active ingredient in Ambien and other sleep aids. She also has elevated levels of alcohol metabolites, though she claims she hasn't been drinking. How is that possible? Lainey asked. Her voice was stronger now, but her face remained pale. Well, zolpidem can cause severe nausea and vomiting, especially when combined with alcohol or taken on an empty stomach. The question is how it got into your system. Holden felt a cold satisfaction settle in his chest. You're saying someone drugged her? I'm saying she has drugs in her system that she claims she didn't take. Whether that was intentional or accidental, I can't say. This is crazy, Lainey said. Who would drug me? What? The doctor shrugged. Mistakes happen. Sometimes people take medication and forget. Sometimes there's cross-contamination. But given the levels we found, this wasn't a trace amount. What do we do now? Holden asked. We'll give her some anti-nausea medication and monitor her for a few hours. The symptoms should subside as the drug leaves her system. You want to follow up with your primary care physician. The doctor paused. And if you suspect foul play, you should contact the police. Holden nodded. Thank you, doctor. As they walked to the car, Lainey leaned heavily on his arm. I can't believe this happened. Who would do something like this? I don't know, Holden said. But he did know. He knew exactly who had done it and why and how. The only question now was what he was going to do about it. Lainey slept for 6 hours straight, curled up on their bed like a sick child. Holden sat in the kitchen, staring at the 2 orange juice glasses still sitting on the counter. He'd put them in plastic bags, careful not to touch the rims. Evidence. The house felt different now. The same walls, the same furniture, the same family photos on the mantle, but everything had changed. His wife had tried to poison him. Not in a moment of passion or rage, but coldly, deliberately, while making small talk about the weather that he thought about their marriage. 10 years together, 3 of them married. She'd been patient during his bad days after discharge, understanding about the nightmares and the therapy sessions. She'd supported his decision to work with other veterans instead of taking a higher-paying job in the private sector, or so he'd thought. When had it changed? When had she started planning his death? Holden walked through the house, seeing it with new eyes. Their bedroom, where she'd lain beside him night after night, plotting. The kitchen, where she prepared his final meal. The living room, where she pretended to care about his day while counting down the hours until he'd be gone. He found himself in the garage, standing among the boxes of Christmas decorations and camping equipment. Lainey's car sat in the center of the space, a blue Honda Civic she'd bought used 2 years ago. She claimed they couldn't afford anything nicer, but now he wondered if she'd been saving money for something else. Something made him look closer at the storage shelves. Lainey was organized to a fault, everything in its place, labeled and sorted. But there, behind a box of winter clothes, he spotted something that didn't belong, an old boot box, pushed back against the wall. Holden pulled it down and opened it. Inside, wrapped in a plastic bag, was a phone he'd never seen before. A cheap smartphone, the kind you could buy at any convenience store. No contract, no bills, no trail. He powered it on and scrolled through the messages. There weren't many, but they were enough. Tonight should have worked. The message was from a contact saved as B. The timestamp showed it had been sent 3 hours ago, while they were at the medical center. The response came quickly. Don't screw this up again. We're out of time. Holden's hands didn't shake as he scrolled through the conversation history. 10 years in the Army had taught him to compartmentalize, to function under pressure. But inside, something cold and sharp was crystallizing that he's getting suspicious. What if he figures it out? He won't. Stick to the plan. What if the dose wasn't enough? Then we try something else. But we need him gone by next month. Next month. Holden scrolled to the calendar app and saw several appointments marked only with B. Gym visits, apparently. Meeting times that coincided with his own schedule at the VA clinic. He opened the GPS history. The phone had been to the Greystone Fitness Center 17 times in the past month. Always on days when Holden was at work. The photo gallery contained 6 pictures. All of them showed the same man, tall, muscular, with dark hair and an easy smile. In one photo, he was kissing Lainey outside a motel room. In another, they were holding hands across a restaurant table. In the last one, they were both naked in what looked like a hotel bed. Holden studied the man's face. He recognized him, Bo Krenner, owner of the local gym. Married to a quiet woman named Diane. Father of 2 kids who went to Greystone Elementary. The man his wife was planning to kill him for. Holden carefully copied every message, every photo, every piece of data from the phone. He uploaded it all to a secure cloud server he'd set up for his work files. Then he returned the phone to its hiding place, making sure everything looked exactly as he'd found it. As he walked back to the house, Holden felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time in months, he knew exactly what he was dealing with. Not uncertainty, not paranoia, not the gradual erosion of a marriage, betrayal. Attempted murder, conspiracy, problems with clear solutions. Monday morning, Holden called in sick to work. He'd never used a personal day for anything other than actual illness, but this qualified. He felt sick to his stomach every time he looked at his wife. Lainey was better, though she still claimed to feel weak. She made coffee and toast, moving around the kitchen with careful steps. She kept glancing at him, as if checking his mood. You don't look well, she said. Maybe you caught whatever I had. Maybe. Holden sipped his coffee, which he'd made himself. I think I'll take it easy today. Good idea. I might run some errands later, if you don't mind being alone. Go ahead. I'll probably just rest. After she left, Holden drove across town to Mare's Hardware. The store had been in his family for 30 years, passed down from his father to his sister Mags when the old man retired. She'd expanded it from a small shop to the largest hardware store in 3 counties, somehow managing to compete with the big box stores through sheer force of personality. The bell above the door chimed as he entered. Mags looked up from the counter, where she was helping a customer select paint colors. She was 2 years older than Holden, built like a boxer, with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Holden, you look like hell. Thanks. I need to talk to you. Privately." Mags finished with her customer, then flipped the sign to closed and locked the door. "What's wrong?" Holden told her everything. The orange juice, the hospital visit, the hidden phone, the messages. Mags listened without interruption, her expression growing harder with each detail. "Jesus Christ," she said when he finished. "That bitch tried to kill you. Looks that way. What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. I need to think this through." Mags walked to the coffee maker in the corner and poured 2 cups. "You know what I think? I think you should kill her first." "Mags, I'm serious. Self-defense. She's trying to murder you. Put her in the ground before she gets another chance." "That's not how this works." "Then how does it work?" "You call the cops? She says you're crazy, that you planted the phone. Her word against yours. Meanwhile, she's still trying to kill you." Holden had considered that. The evidence was circumstantial at best. A phone that could have been planted, messages that could have been faked, a poisoning that could have been accidental. In a town where everyone knew everyone, reputation mattered more than facts. "I need more," he said. "Like what?" "Like a confession. Video evidence. Something that can't be disputed." Mags nodded slowly. "That's smart. You always were the smart one." She paused. "You know, Ronnie might be able to help." Ronnie Kepler. She tends bar at the Rusty Anchor. Hears everything, sees everything. If your wife and her boyfriend are planning something, Ronnie would know about it. "Can you set up a meeting?" "I'll call her right now." They met at the Rusty Anchor during the lunch rush. The bar was busy enough that their conversation would be lost in the noise, but not so crowded that they couldn't find a quiet corner. Ronnie Kepler was younger than Holden had expected, probably late 20s, with short red hair and intelligent eyes. "Mags told me what's going on," she said without preamble. "I'm sorry, Holden. That's rough. What do you know about Bo Krenner?" "Bo's a piece of work. Loud, obnoxious, thinks he's God's gift to women. He's been coming in here for months, always with different women. Never his wife. Including mine, including yours. They've been meeting here maybe twice a week. Always sit in the back booth, always order the same thing. Bo gets whiskey neat, your wife gets white wine. They think they're invisible." Holden felt the familiar calm settle over him. "What do they talk about?" "Money, mostly. Bo's got financial problems. His gym's failing, he's behind on rent, his wife doesn't know how bad it is. Your wife keeps talking about how everything will work out soon." "Anything else?" Ronnie hesitated. "Last week, Bo was pretty drunk. Started bragging about how he was going to be a homeowner soon. Said he was getting a house without paying for it. When someone asked how, he said he was getting the house without the husband. You heard him say that. I heard him say it. So did 3 other people. But Bo talks a lot of garbage when he's drunk. Nobody took it seriously. Until now. Holden thanked Ronnie and walked back to his truck. He had 2 more stops to make before he went home. The Greystone Sheriff's Department occupied a small building on Main Street, next to the post office. Holden had known Sheriff Camden Doyle since they were kids, though they'd never been close friends. Cam was 2 years older, a decent guy who'd stayed in town while Holden went off to war. "Holden Maris," Cam said, looking up from his paperwork. "Haven't seen you in a while. How's the wife?" "That's what I need to talk to you about." Holden laid out the facts, keeping his voice steady and professional. Cam listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. "This is serious," Cam said when Holden finished. "Attempted murder serious. But you're right about the evidence. Everything you've got is circumstantial. A good lawyer could tear it apart. What do I need? A confession would be nice. Video evidence of them planning the crime. Something that can't be explained away. And if I get that, then I'll arrest both of them." "But Holden," Cam leaned forward, "be careful how you get it. Anything illegal, anything that violates their rights, and it won't be admissible in court. I know you're angry, but this has to be done by the book." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because if you take matters into your own hands, I'll have to arrest you too. I won't have vigilante justice in my town." Holden met his eyes. "I just want her to pay for what she's done." "Then do it right. Get me solid evidence, and I'll make sure she pays." Tuesday morning, Holden woke up before dawn and made breakfast for both of them. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, nothing fancy, but more effort than he'd put into a meal in months. When Lainey came downstairs, she found him sitting at the kitchen table with 2 plates and a pot of fresh coffee. "This is nice," she said, settling into her chair. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion. Just thought we should spend more time together." She looked suspicious. "You're not usually a morning person." "I've been thinking about us. About our marriage." Holden took a bite of eggs, chewing slowly. "I know things have been rough lately." "Have they?" "Come on, Lainey. We barely talk anymore. We're like roommates, not husband and wife." She played with her food, not meeting his eyes. "I guess we've just been busy. Maybe too busy." Holden reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away, but he felt her tense up. "I want to fix this. I want us to be happy again." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe we need a fresh start. Somewhere new, away from all the baggage." Now she was looking at him. "What kind of fresh start?" "I've been thinking about transferring to a different VA clinic. Maybe California or Colorado. Somewhere with better weather, more opportunities." Lainey's eyes widened. "You want to move?" "I want us to move. Together. A new town, a new house, a new life." He squeezed her hand. "What do you think?" I don't know. This is sudden. Is it? We've been stuck in the same routine for years. Maybe that's part of the problem. But our life is here. Our friends, our family." "What friends?" "We never see anyone anymore. And Mags will be fine without me. She's got her own life." Lainey was quiet for a long moment. "Where in California?" "I don't know yet. I got some contacts at the VA hospital in San Diego. I thought I'd make some calls, see what's available." "When?" "Soon. Maybe in the next month or 2. Holden watched her process this information. He could see the wheels turning behind her eyes, calculating what this meant for her plans. That's a big change," she said finally. "Good changes usually are. I need to think about it." "Of course. Take all the time you need." That afternoon, while Lainey was at the grocery store, Holden searched her purse for the second phone. He found it in the side pocket, hidden behind her wallet. There were 3 new messages from B. "What did you mean about California?" "He wants to move. Says he's been thinking about transferring to a different VA clinic." "When?" "Soon. Maybe in a month or 2. This changes everything. If he's leaving anyway, maybe you don't have to finish the plan. I don't know." "What if he wanted to come with him?" "You're not going anywhere. We'll figure this out. I'm scared." "What if he's suspicious?" "He's not. He's just trying to save his marriage." "Play along. Act supportive. But don't let him take you away from me." "What if I don't have a choice?" "You always have a choice. Remember what we talked about." Holden screenshot the conversation and uploaded it to his secure server. Then he deleted the messages from the phone and returned it to its hiding place. That evening, Lainey seemed more relaxed. She made dinner nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, and they ate while watching the news. She asked questions about California, about the weather and the cost of living. She seemed genuinely interested in the possibility of moving. "You know what?" she said as they were cleaning up. "Maybe this is exactly what we need. A fresh start." "You think so?" "I think so. We've been in a rut for too long. Maybe it's time to shake things up." Holden smiled and kissed her forehead. "I'm glad you're on board. I'm always on board when it comes to us." Later that night, after Lainey had gone to bed, Holden checked the phone again. 1 new message from B. "He's leaving. Maybe I don't have to finish the plan after all." Holden stared at the message for a long time. So she was still planning to kill him. The California story had just bought him time, not safety. If anything, it had made her more dangerous. Now she was thinking about accelerating her timeline, that he needed to move faster. Wednesday morning, Holden drove to Portland. He told Lainey he had a meeting with his supervisor about the transfer, which wasn't entirely untrue. He did plan to make some calls about job opportunities in California, just to maintain the cover story. But first, he had shopping to do. The electronics store was in a strip mall on the east side of the city, the kind of place that sold surveillance equipment to private investigators and security companies. Holden had found it online, along with detailed reviews of their products. "I need to set up a home security system," he told the clerk, a young man with multiple piercings and a bored expression. "Basic package or full surveillance?" "Full surveillance. I want to see everything that happens in my house." The clerk perked up. "Indoor, outdoor, or both?" "Indoor. I need cameras that can't be detected easily. My wife is paranoid about privacy." "Oh, one of those situations." The clerk nodded knowingly. We got some options. They spent an hour going through the inventory. Holden selected a smoke detector with a built-in camera for the hallway, a camera pin for the living room, and a voice recorder disguised as a picture frame for the bedroom. All of the devices were wireless, with their own storage and the ability to upload to a secure server. How's the audio quality on the voice recorder? Holden asked. Excellent. It'll pick up normal conversation from anywhere in the room. Even whispers. Good. I'll take it. The total came to $800. Holden paid in cash and took the equipment home in a plain cardboard box. Installing the devices took most of the afternoon. The smoke detector was easy. He just replaced the existing one in the hallway outside their bedroom. The camera pin went on the coffee table in the living room, mixed in with other pins and notepads. The voice recorder was trickier. He had to remove the back panel from their wedding photo and install the device inside the frame. By the time Lainey came home from work, everything was in place. How did the meeting go? She asked, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. Good. Really good. My supervisor thinks there's a real opportunity in San Diego. They're expanding their trauma program and need experienced instructors. That's wonderful. When would you start? If everything works out, maybe in 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Her voice went up an octave. That's fast. I know. But opportunities like this don't come along often. And the sooner we get out there, the sooner we can start our new life. That night, Holden called Sheriff Doyle from his cell phone in the garage. It's me, he said when Cam answered. I need to know about evidence. What makes something admissible in court? In Oregon? Well, it depends on how it's obtained. Why? I'm thinking about recording some conversations. In my own house. That's legal in Oregon. It's a one-party consent state, which means you can record any conversation you're part of. But if you're not part of the conversation, it gets trickier. What if it's in my own house? Still complicated. If you're recording your wife and her boyfriend, and they have a reasonable expectation of privacy, it could be thrown out. What about if they're planning to commit a crime? In my house. That changes things. If you have reasonable suspicion that a crime is being planned, recording in your own home becomes much more defensible. But Holden, you need to be careful. If this goes to trial, every piece of evidence will be scrutinized. I understand. Do you? Because if you screw this up, she walks free. And then you're still married to someone who wants you dead. After ending the call, Holden spent an hour setting up the recording software on his laptop. Each device would automatically upload to a secure server, creating timestamped files that couldn't be altered. He also created a backup system that would send copies to a private email account he'd set up under a false name. The next morning, he drove to the county courthouse and met with a private notary named Eleanor Voss. She was an elderly woman who specialized in legal documentation for divorce cases and estate planning. I need to create a legal record of some recordings, he told her. Time-stamped, notarized, admissible in court. What kind of recordings? Conversations in my home. My wife is planning to kill me. Eleanor's eyes widened, but she didn't flinch. You have proof. I'm working on it. But when I get it, I need to make sure it's legally bulletproof. I can help with that. Oregon law requires specific procedures for evidence authentication. We'll need to document the chain of custody, verify the recording equipment, and ensure the timestamps are accurate. They spent an hour going through the legal requirements. Eleanor would provide notarized statements about the equipment's authenticity and the recording procedures. Each file would be given a unique identifier and stored in a secure database. This is thorough work, Eleanor said. You're being very careful. I only get one chance to get this right. Smart man. Most people rush into these things and ruin their own cases. By Thursday evening, everything was in place. The cameras were recording, the audio equipment was functioning, and the legal framework was established. Now Holden just had to wait for his wife to make her move. Friday night, Holden decided to set the trap that he'd stopped at the liquor store on his way home and bought a bottle of expensive red wine, the kind Lainey liked for special occasions. He'd also picked up steaks and ingredients for her favorite salad. When she walked into the kitchen and saw him preparing dinner, she looked surprised. What's all this for? I got some good news today. The San Diego position is almost definite. I thought we should celebrate. That's wonderful. She seemed genuinely happy, which made what he was about to do feel even more necessary. When do you start? Probably in 4 weeks. I know it's fast, but for weeks. The happiness faded from her face. But you said 6 weeks yesterday. I know. Things are moving faster than expected. The guy I'm replacing is leaving sooner than planned. Lainey sat down heavily at the kitchen table. 4 weeks. That's not much time to get ready. I know it's stressful, but think about it. In a month, we'll be starting our new life together. No more cold Oregon winters, no more small-town gossip. Just us. Just us, she repeated. They ate dinner by candlelight, the wine flowing freely. Holden nursed his glass while Lainey drank most of the bottle. By the time they finished dessert, she was relaxed and talkative. I love you, she said, reaching across the table to touch his hand. You know that, right? I love you too. I want you to be happy. I want us to be happy. We will be. I promise. Sometimes I worry that I'm not good enough for you, that you'll realize you could do better. Don't say that. You're perfect. No, I'm not. I've made mistakes. We both have. Holden leaned forward. What kind of mistakes? Just mistakes. Things I'm not proud of. Like what? Nothing serious. Just, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd made different choices. What do you mean? Lainey finished her wine and poured another glass. Do you ever think about other people? Wonder what it would be like to be with someone else? No. Do you? She was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes. Anyone in particular? Just hypothetically. Don't you ever wonder? Not really. About everything I need right here. But what if you didn't? What if something happened to me? Would you be okay? Nothing's going to happen to you. But what if it did? What if I got sick or had an accident? Would you be able to move on? Holden felt his pulse quicken. Why are you talking like this? I'm just thinking out loud. Life is unpredictable. People die unexpectedly all the time. Not you. You're healthy as a horse. Like I was healthy last Sunday morning. She laughed, but it sounded forced. I could have died from whatever made me sick. Food poisoning can be fatal. But you didn't die. You're fine. This time. But what if there's a next time? What if whatever made me sick comes back? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Or what if it happens to you instead? What if you're the one who gets sick? Holden stood up and walked to the wine rack, keeping his voice casual. Are you worried about something specific? No, just, I don't know. Maybe it's the wine talking. Maybe you should slow down. Maybe I should go to bed. Good idea. You've had a long day. Lainey stood up unsteadily. Will you come up with me? In a minute. I want to clean up first. Okay. Don't take too long. She kissed him on the cheek and headed upstairs. Holden waited until he heard the bedroom door close, then quietly followed. He could hear her moving around in the bathroom, running water, brushing her teeth. 10 minutes later, the bathroom door opened and she came out wearing a silk nightgown. She looked beautiful and vulnerable, and for a moment Holden felt a stab of grief for what they'd lost. I'm going to call Mags, he said. Let her know about the California thing. Now, it's almost 10 o'clock. She'll be up. She's a night owl. Okay, I'll probably be asleep when you get back. Sweet dreams. Holden walked downstairs and made a show of calling his sister, speaking loudly enough for the sound to carry upstairs. He spent 5 minutes having a fake conversation with her voicemail, discussing the move and asking her to handle some business at the hardware store. Then he went to the garage and waited. 20 minutes later, he heard footsteps on the stairs. Lainey was moving carefully, trying not to make noise. He watched through the kitchen window as she went to the living room and picked up her phone. The call connected on the second ring. He's almost out again, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I put the sleeping pills in the wine this time. Holden couldn't hear the response, but he could imagine it. I know, but he's talking about leaving in 4 weeks. If this doesn't work, we'll have to be more direct. Another pause. You said the pills wouldn't fail twice. What if he doesn't drink enough? What if he's building up a tolerance? The conversation continued for another minute. Then Lainey hung up and returned to the bedroom. Holden waited another 10 minutes, then quietly entered the house through the back door. He checked the recording equipment. Everything had been captured: video from the living room camera, audio from the voice recorder upstairs. Clear evidence that his wife was still trying to kill him. But it wasn't enough. He needed more. Saturday morning, Holden woke up early and made coffee. When Lainey came downstairs, she looked surprised to see him up and alert. How are you feeling? She asked. Fine. Why? You just seemed really tired last night. I thought you might sleep in. I'm a morning person. You know that. She looked confused, but didn't push it. I'm going to the gym today. I need to get back in shape before we move. Good idea. Exercise is important. I might grab lunch afterward. There's a new place I want to try. Sound good. I'll probably work on the garage. Start sorting through stuff we don't need. Okay, I'll see you later. After she left, Holden called Mags. I need you to do something for me, he said. How good are you at stalling? Depends on what you mean. I need you to keep Bo Krenner busy at his gym for about 30 minutes. Can you do that? What are you planning? I'm going to plant a camera in his car. Jesus, Holden. That's breaking and entering. It's not breaking if I don't break anything. And it's not entering if I don't go inside. You know what I mean? Mags, she's going to kill me. I need proof that will stand up in court. What if you get caught? I won't get caught. But I need you to make sure Bo doesn't leave the gym while I'm working. How am I supposed to do that? I don't know. Buy something heavy. Ask lots of questions. Flirt with him. I don't flirt. Pretend you're interested in joining the gym. Make him give you a tour. This is insane. Will you do it? Yeah, I'll do it. But if you get arrested, I'm not bailing you out. Fair enough. An hour later, Holden parked across the street from Greystone Fitness. He could see Mags inside, talking to Bo at the front desk. She was wearing a bright red sweater and gesturing animatedly. Bo looked engaged, probably thinking he was about to make a sale. Holden slipped around to the back of the building, where the employees parked. Bo's truck was easy to spot. A massive black pickup with custom wheels and a vanity license plate that read Beast One. The door was unlocked. Holden slipped inside and quickly installed a small camera under the dashboard, positioning it to capture both the driver and passenger seats. The device was no bigger than a thumb drive, with a battery life of several hours and wireless connectivity. The whole operation took less than 3 minutes. He was back in his own truck when his phone buzzed with a text from Mags. He's getting suspicious. Wrap it up. Holden drove home and waited. 2 hours later, his phone alerted him to new footage from the car camera. He opened the app and saw Lainey climbing into the passenger seat of Bo's truck. They were parked behind a restaurant on the outskirts of town. This is getting ridiculous, Lainey was saying. He should have been unconscious by now. Maybe he's not drinking as much as you think, Bo replied. Maybe he's suspicious. He's not suspicious. He's planning to move to California. He thinks we're going together. Are you? Of course not. But I need to figure out how to handle this. If he doesn't die soon, he's going to take me away from you. So don't let him. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time to stop being subtle. Maybe we need to be more direct. Like what? Like an accident. He slips in the shower. Falls down the stairs. Something that can't be traced back to us. You want me to push him down the stairs. I want you to do whatever it takes. We're running out of time. What if I get caught? You won't get caught. Make it look like an accident. If he's drugged, it'll look like he was dizzy and lost his balance. God, this is insane. This is survival. You want to be with me, right? You want us to have a future together. Yes. Then handle it. This week, before he starts making concrete plans about California. The camera captured everything: their faces, their voices, their body language. When Bo leaned over to kiss her, Holden could see the hunger in both their eyes. I love you, Lainey said. I love you too. That's why this has to happen. What about after? What if people ask questions? People won't ask questions. You'll be the grieving widow. I'll be the supportive friend who helps you through the difficult time. After a decent interval, we'll start dating. Nobody will think twice about it. What about your wife? Diane will be fine. She's got her own life, her own friends. She probably won't even notice I'm gone. And the house. You'll inherit everything. The house, the life insurance, his pension. We'll be set for life. If I don't get caught. If you're smart about it, there's nothing to catch. Just make it look like an accident. They drove to a motel on the other side of town. Holden's camera captured them checking in, captured them entering the room, captured them in bed together an hour later. If I just push him down the stairs while he's drugged, it's self-inflicted, right? Lainey asked afterward. No one would suspect me. Exactly. Especially if you're somewhere else when it happens. Create an alibi. How? I don't know. Go to the store, visit a friend, something public. Then come home and find the body. This is really happening, isn't it? This is really happening. Holden turned off the camera feed and sat back in his chair. He had everything he needed now. Video evidence of the affair, audio evidence of the murder plot, clear statements of intent from both conspirators. It was time to end this. The farewell barbecue was Holden's idea. He'd suggested it casually over breakfast on Wednesday, 3 days after recording Laney's confession in the motel room. "I've been thinking," he said, cutting into his eggs. "Since we're leaving town soon, maybe we should throw a party. Say goodbye to everyone properly." "A party?" Laney looked up from her coffee. "That's not really your style." "I know, but this is a big change. I want to do it right." "What kind of party?" "Nothing fancy. Just a barbecue in the backyard. Invite the neighbors, some people from work. Maybe Mags and her friends. I don't know. Planning a party seems like a lot of work when we should be packing. Come on, it'll be fun. How often do we get to celebrate something good?" Laney considered this. "When were you thinking?" "This Saturday. I know it's short notice, but people in Greystone don't need much time to plan." "Okay, I guess we could do it." "Great. I'll handle the invitations and the food. You just worry about looking beautiful." That afternoon, Holden drove around town, personally inviting everyone he could think of. Sheriff Doyle, Mags, Ronnie, neighbors from their street, co-workers from the VA clinic. He kept the invitations simple. "Laney and I are moving to California. We'd love to have you over for a barbecue to say goodbye." By Friday evening, 23 people had confirmed they were coming. Saturday morning, Holden woke up early and began preparing. He set up tables in the backyard, strung lights between the trees, and arranged chairs in a rough circle around the fire pit. He bought enough hamburgers and hot dogs to feed an army, along with potato salad, baked beans, and all the fixings. Laney spent the morning getting ready, trying on different outfits and fussing with her hair. She seemed nervous, which struck Holden as odd. Usually she thrived at social gatherings. "You okay?" he asked as she changed clothes for the third time. "Fine. Just want to look good for our farewell party." "You always look good." "This is different. This is important." The first guests arrived at 4 o'clock. Mag showed up with a cooler full of beer and a suspicious expression. She pulled Holden aside while Laney was greeting neighbors. "You sure about this?" she asked. "I'm sure." "What's the plan?" "You'll see. Just stay close to the back door when I give the signal." "What signal?" "You'll know it when you see it." By 6 o'clock, the backyard was full of people. Holden worked the grill, flipping burgers and making small talk. He watched Laney move through the crowd, laughing and chatting with everyone. She was good at this, the perfect hostess, charming and gracious. It was almost ashamed to destroy her. Sheriff Doyle arrived at 6:30, dressed in civilian clothes, but carrying himself with the same authority he had in uniform. He accepted a beer from Holden and surveyed the crowd. "Nice turnout," he said. "Greystone loves a good party. You ready for this?" "I've been ready for a week. You know there's no going back once you start." "I don't want to go back." At 7 o'clock, as the sun was setting behind the trees, Holden stood up and tapped his beer bottle with a knife. The crowd gradually quieted down. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice carrying across the yard. "Laney and I want to say goodbye properly before we head off to California." A few people applauded. Someone shouted speech from the back. "I'm not much of a speech maker," Holden continued, "but I wanted to thank you all for being part of our life here in Greystone. This town has been good to us. The people here have been like family." More applause. Laney was smiling, but Holden could see the tension around her eyes. "Marriage is a funny thing," he said. "You think you know someone, and then you discover things about them you never imagined. Sometimes those discoveries are wonderful. Sometimes they're enlightening." The crowd was getting quieter, sensing a change in tone. "Laney and I have been married for 3 years. In that time, I thought I knew everything about her. Her favorite food, her favorite movies, her hopes and dreams. But recently, I've learned some new things about my wife." "Holden," Laney said quietly. "What are you doing?" "I'm sharing with our friends," he said. "I think they deserve to know the truth about why we're really leaving Greystone." The backyard was silent now. 23 people staring at him, waiting. "3 weeks ago, my wife tried to poison me," Holden said. "She put sleeping pills in my orange juice, hoping to kill me so she could inherit my house and my life insurance." Gasps from the crowd. Laney had gone white. "That's not true," she said. "He's having some kind of breakdown." When that didn't work, she tried again with wine. And when that failed, She and her boyfriend started planning to push me down the stairs. Holden, stop this. You're scaring people. Her boyfriend is Bo Krenner, who owns the gym downtown. They've been having an affair for months, meeting at the Rusty Anchor and at motels around town. Several people in the crowd turned to look at Bo, who had been standing near the back fence. His face was red, his hands clenched into fists. This is insane, Bo said. You're out of your mind. Am I? Holden pulled out his phone. Let me play something for you. He connected his phone to a small speaker system he'd set up for background music. Now he switched to a different playlist, the audio recordings from the motel room. Laney's voice filled the backyard. If I just pushed him down the stairs while he's drugged, it's self-inflicted, right? No one would suspect me. Bo's voice, exactly. Especially if you're somewhere else when it happens. Create an alibi. This is really happening, isn't it? This is really happening. The silence that followed was deafening. Holden could hear cars passing on the street, a dog barking 3 houses down, the distant sound of a television. You recorded us, Laney whispered. I recorded you planning my murder. In my own house, in my own backyard, with my own friends as witnesses. That's not what it sounds like. Then what does it sound like? Laney looked around the yard, seeing the faces of people she'd known for years. Neighbors who'd invited her to birthday parties, co-workers who'd shared coffee and gossip, friends who'd trusted her with their secrets. I can explain, she said. Please do. It's not what you think. We were talking. Hypothetically, it was just a conversation about murdering me, about what would happen if something happened to you. It was just a thought experiment that included putting sleeping pills in my food. I never. The toxicology report from Greystone Medical Center says otherwise. You want me to read out loud? Laney started to cry. Please don't do this. Not in front of everyone. Why not? You were going to kill me in front of everyone. At least this way, I get to defend myself. Sheriff Doyle stepped forward. Holden, I think we've heard enough. Have we? I got video too. Would you like to see my wife and her boyfriend in bed together, planning my death? That won't be necessary, Cam said. Laney Maris, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and tampering with prescription substances. The handcuffs clicked shut around Laney's wrists. She was still crying, mascara running down her cheeks. Bo Krenner, Cam continued, you're under arrest as a co-conspirator. This is bullshit, Bo said as the deputy cuffed him. You can't prove anything. Actually, I can, Holden said. I've got hours of recordings. Video, audio, text messages. Everything. You son of a bitch. That's Mr. Son of a Bitch to you. The crowd dispersed quickly after the arrests. Some people lingered to ask questions or offer support, but most hurried away, eager to spread the news to anyone who hadn't been there. By 8 o'clock, Holden was alone in his backyard, cleaning up the remnants of the party. Mag stayed to help, stacking chairs and packing leftover food into containers. You could have warned me, she said. I nearly had a heart attack when you started talking. I wanted your reaction to be genuine. It was genuine, all right. I thought you'd lost your mind. For a minute there. So did I. How do you feel? Holden considered the question. Empty. Relieved. Angry. I don't know. She's going to prison. Good. For a long time. Not long enough. Mags was quiet for a moment. You know, part of me is proud of you. You handled this like a professional. Like a soldier. It's not over yet. What do you mean? I mean, she's going to get a lawyer. She's going to try to fight this. She's going to claim I'm lying, that I planted evidence, that I'm the crazy one. Will it work? Not with what I've got. But she'll try. And then we'll see what justice looks like in Greystone, Oregon. The next morning, the story was front-page news in the Greystone Gazette. Local woman arrested in murder plot, read the headline, with a photo of Laney being led away in handcuffs. The article laid out the basic facts, but didn't include the more salacious details. Holden's phone rang constantly. Reporters from Portland and Seattle wanted interviews. Old Army buddies called to offer support. Neighbors stopped by with casseroles and condolences. It's like someone died, he told Mags when she came by with dinner. Someone did die. Your marriage. I think that died a long time ago. I just didn't know it. What are you going to do now? Wait for the trial. Testify. Watch her go to prison. And after that, I don't know. Maybe I'll still move to California. Maybe I'll stay here. I haven't decided. You could always come work for me. The hardware store could use someone with your organizational skills. Maybe. The arraignment was scheduled for Tuesday morning. Holden drove to the courthouse with Sheriff Doyle, who wanted to brief him on what to expect. Her lawyer is going to try to discredit the recordings, Cam said as they walked up the courthouse steps. He'll claim they were taken illegally, that they were edited, that they were taken out of context. Will it work? Not with Judge Morrison. He's seen this kind of thing before. But be prepared for them to attack your character. They'll say you're obsessed, paranoid, that you set up the whole thing. I did set up the whole thing. I know, but there's a difference between gathering evidence and entrapment. The courtroom was packed. Lainey sat at the defendant's table with her lawyer, an expensive-looking man from Portland. She was wearing a conservative blue dress and no makeup, trying to look like a victim instead of a predator. Her lawyer stood up when the judge entered. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. So noted, Judge Morrison said. Bail. The defense requests release on her own recognizance. Mrs. Maris has no prior record, strong ties to the community, and poses no flight risk. The prosecution objects, the district attorney said. The defendant is charged with attempting to murder her husband. She's demonstrated a willingness to use violence and deception. She's a danger to the community. Bail is set at $50,000, the judge said. Trial date is set for 6 weeks from today. Lainey posted bail that afternoon. Holden watched from across the street as she walked out of the courthouse with her lawyer and her parents, who had driven up from California. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. She never looked in his direction. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution presented a methodical case, walking the jury through each piece of evidence in chronological order. The toxicology report from a hospital, the hidden phone and its contents, the audio recordings from the house, the video from the motel room. Holden testified on the second day, describing the morning of the poisoning attempt and his subsequent investigation. He kept his emotions in check, answering questions clearly and concisely. Why didn't you confront your wife immediately? The prosecutor asked. Because I needed proof. I needed evidence that would stand up in court. So you decided to gather that evidence yourself? I decided to protect myself. My wife was trying to kill me. I had to find out how and why. Did you consider going to the police immediately? I talked to Sheriff Doyle. He told me I needed more evidence. And did you get more evidence? Yes. What kind of evidence? Audio recordings of my wife and her boyfriend planning my murder. Video recordings of them in bed together, discussing how to make it look like an accident. How did you obtain these recordings? I installed surveillance equipment in my own home and in the defendant's boyfriend's car. Was this legal? Yes. Oregon is a one-party consent state for audio recordings. The video was obtained on my own property or with the consent of the car owner. The defense attorney cross-examined him aggressively, trying to paint him as a paranoid husband who had driven his wife to seek comfort elsewhere. You claim my client tried to poison you, the lawyer said. But isn't it true that you switched the glasses that morning? Yes. So you deliberately caused my client to ingest what you claim was poison. I prevented myself from being poisoned. She poisoned herself. But you could have simply refused to drink the orange juice. I could have. But then I wouldn't have had proof of what she was trying to do. So you were willing to let my client suffer the effects of this alleged poison in order to gather evidence. I was willing to let her experience the consequences of her own actions. The lawyer tried several more angles, but Holden remained calm and consistent. He'd rehearsed this testimony for weeks, anticipating every possible question. Lainey testified on the third day. She claimed the recordings were taken out of context, that she and Beau had been role-playing, that the whole thing was a misunderstanding. I never intended to hurt my husband, she said, tears streaming down her face. I love him. I was just confused and scared. Confused about what? Her lawyer asked. About our marriage. About the future. Beau was just a friend who was helping me work through my feelings. And the recordings? We were just talking through different scenarios. What would happen if Holden got sick? What would happen if he had an accident? It was just conversation. Did you ever intend to harm your husband? Never. I would never hurt him. But on cross-examination, The prosecutor tore her story apart. He played the recordings again, pointing out specific phrases that contradicted her testimony. You said, and I quote, "If I just push him down the stairs while he's drugged, it's self-inflicted, right? How is that role-playing? I was asking hypothetical questions. Hypothetical questions about murdering your husband. It wasn't murder. We were just talking about pushing him down the stairs. It wasn't real. But the sleeping pills were real, weren't they? The ones you put in his orange juice. I don't know what you're talking about. The toxicology report shows traces of zolpidem in your system. How'd they get there? I don't know. You don't know how prescription sleeping pills got into your system. Maybe I took them and forgot. Maybe there was cross-contamination. Cross-contamination from what? I don't know. The prosecutor introduced the text messages from the burner phone, the GPS data showing Laney's trips to the motel, the video footage of her and Bo together. Each piece of evidence chipped away at her credibility. Bo testified on the fourth day. He tried to distance himself from the plot, claiming he'd just been having an affair and that the murder plan was all Laney's idea. She was obsessed with getting rid of her husband, he said. She kept talking about how much money she'd inherit, how we could be together if he was gone. Did you encourage these conversations? The prosecutor asked. No, I told her to leave him if she wasn't happy. But you didn't report her plans to the police? I didn't think she was serious. I thought it was just talk, even when she showed you the sleeping pills. I don't remember that. You don't remember your girlfriend showing you the drugs she planned to use to kill her husband? It wasn't like that. But the jury had already heard the recordings. They'd seen the video of Bo encouraging Laney to handle the situation and be more direct. His testimony only made him look more guilty. The closing arguments were brief. The prosecutor summarized the evidence methodically, building a case that was impossible to refute. The defense attorney made an emotional appeal, asking the jury to consider the context of a troubled marriage and the possibility of a misunderstanding. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. We find the defendant guilty on all charges, the foreman said. Laney collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Her parents held each other in the gallery. Bo, who was being tried separately, sat in the back of the courtroom with his own lawyer, his face pale. Judge Morrison scheduled sentencing for the following week. Laney received 18 years in prison with a possibility of parole after 12. Bo got 15 years for conspiracy. The judge called it a cold-blooded plot to commit murder for financial gain and said he wanted to send a message that such crimes would not be tolerated in his jurisdiction. Holden sat in the back of the courtroom as the sentences were read. He felt no satisfaction, no sense of victory, just a hollow relief that it was finally over. After the sentencing, he drove home to the house he'd shared with Laney for 3 years. It felt empty now, not just because she was gone, but because everything they'd built together had been revealed as a lie that he spent the next week packing. Most of their furniture went to charity. The wedding photos went in the trash. The few things that were genuinely his books, clothes, a few pieces of family furniture went into storage. Mags came by to help, bringing boxes and packing tape. You sure about selling the house? She asked. I'm sure. Too many bad memories. Where will you go? I found a place outside town. A cabin on 10 acres. It needs work, but that's fine. I need a project. Sounds perfect. Want to see it. They drove out to the property together. The cabin was small but solid, built in the 1970s by a retired logger. It had a stone fireplace, a wraparound porch, and a view of the mountains. The land was mostly forest, with a creek running through the back corner. It's beautiful, Mags said. Peaceful. That's what I need. Peace. What about work? I'm taking a sabbatical. I've got enough savings to last a year, maybe 2 if I'm careful. After that, we'll see. You could always come work for me. I might take you up on that. The move took 3 days. Holden hired a crew to transport his furniture and boxes, then spent a week getting the cabin ready. He replaced the windows, repaired the roof, and built a workshop in the old barn. The work was therapeutic. Physical labor that required focus and skill, but left his mind free to process what had happened. He thought about Laney, about their marriage, about the signs he'd missed. He thought about trust and betrayal, about love and deception. Mostly, he thought about the future. Mags visited once a week, bringing groceries and news from town. The story of the trial had spread throughout the county, and Holden had become something of a local celebrity. People pointed him out in the grocery store, whispered about him at the diner. "They're calling you the guy who outsmarted a black widow," Mag said one afternoon as they sat on the porch. "I don't like that." "Why not?" "It's kind of badass." "Because I wasn't trying to be badass. I was just trying to survive." Same thing in this case. "Is it?" "Holden, she tried to kill you. You stopped her." "That's not revenge, that's justice." Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. The difference is that she's in prison and you're free. The difference is that she's paying for what she did. And Bo too. His wife filed for divorce. She's moving back to Portland with the kids. The gym is closing. Good. You don't sound convinced. I just keep thinking about what might have happened if I hadn't switched those glasses. If I'd drunk the orange juice and died, would anyone have figured out what she'd done? Maybe. Maybe not. But you didn't die. You figured it out, and you stopped her. Yeah, that's what matters. 1 year later, Holden was rebuilding the cabin's front steps when a car pulled into his driveway. A woman got out, carrying a notebook and a camera. She was young, probably mid-20s, with the eager expression of someone who thought she was about to get a good story. "Mr. Maris? I'm Jennifer Walsh from the Portland Tribune. I'm working on a story about your case. Could I ask you a few questions?" Holden set down his hammer and studied her. "What kind of story?" "A follow-up piece. It's been a year since the trial. I'm interested in how you've moved on, what justice means to you. I don't usually talk to reporters." "I understand. But your case has become something of a landmark. A lot of people are interested in how you handled the situation. What do you want to know?" "Well, first, how are you doing? How has this experience changed you?" Holden considered the question. "I'm doing fine. I'm living quietly, working on my property. I teach trauma recovery to veterans once a week at the VA clinic. That's important work." "It is. Do you ever think about your ex-wife?" "No, never. What would be the point? She's in prison. I'm not. End of story. Some people might call what you did revenge. Some people would be wrong." "How so?" "Revenge is about hurting someone who hurt you. What I did was about protecting myself and making sure she couldn't hurt anyone else." "What's the difference?" "The difference is that revenge is about the past. What I did was about the future." "Can you elaborate?" "She was planning to kill me. I stopped her. I gathered evidence. I worked with law enforcement. I testified in court. The system worked the way it's supposed to work. And now she's in prison where she belongs, and I'm free to live my life." "Do you feel satisfied with the outcome?" Holden thought about that. "I feel like justice was served. She broke the law. She was caught. She was punished. That's how it should work." "What would you say to someone in a similar situation?" "I'd say be smart. Be careful. Document everything. Work with the authorities. Don't take the law into your own hands." That's good advice. It's the only advice that matters. Jennifer Walsh asked a few more questions, then packed up her notebook and camera. As she was getting back in her car, she turned back to Holden. "Can I ask you one more thing?" "Sure. What does justice mean to you?" Holden leaned against the porch railing and looked out at the mountains. "Justice isn't revenge," he said finally. "It's making sure they never hurt you again, and then forgetting they ever existed." He turned and walked back to the cabin, leaving her standing by her car. He had work to do, and the afternoon was getting late. The reporter drove away, but Holden didn't watch her go. He was already thinking about the next project, the next repair, the next step in building his new life. He was calm. He was free. He was unbroken. And for the first time in over a year, that was enough.